Ah, The Legend of Zelda. People consider this one of the best Nintendo games ever made. Growing up in the 80s, I played a lot of Nintendo games, including Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. I even got the Game Boy Adventure and eventually the Super Nintendo game. However, the one I have never played is the original Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System. But wait, Sean, what the hell are you talking about? Zelda was played by everyone in America and Japan. It was released everywhere, right? Well, you'd be wrong. The Legend of Zelda was remade on the Super Nintendo, but it was only available in a downloadable form through the Satellaview attachment for the Super Nintendo, available only in Japan. One thing that was interesting about this is that it actually spoke to you at certain points in the game. If you notice the opening title screen, it says "Listen up for instructions." That's because a voice is supposed to talk to you. However, in the emulation process, you will never be able to find these voices. This looks like the original game. However, I've learned that a whole cemetery section was removed, as well as one major enemy, some dragon with 3 heads, I'm guessing Triclyde. But what if you want to play as Link? Hell, what if you want to play as Zelda? Well, let's show you how to do that. What I thought was odd is that you're compelled to go into the cave. You have no control over it. However, if you leave the cave without taking the sword, you can't leave the first screen. So, yeah, whatever. Alright, let's learn to be Zelda. First, grab the ROM that you have and copy it. Save the original file somewhere and rename the copy the exact title of the original. Then, find your patch and put it next to it. Next, you're going to want to open your IPS Patcher program and open it. You'll immediately have 2 options where you can choose the file you want to patch and the patch itself, and then boom, it patches. This really requires no skill whatsoever in computers. And now you can see that the baseball cap boy's sprite has been replaced with Link. However, patches don't always work, as this is what happened when I tried to put in Zelda's patch. Alas, my fantasies of wanting to kill monsters as a little girlish princess remain unfulfilled. So now let's get into how the game actually plays to the few people that actually haven't played it before. You have a little sword and you run up to people and whack them with it. However, if you're at full health, you can shoot a laser out of it. Along the way, you also get arrows to shoot at things, as well as bombs to blow up walls. Since all the walls have the potential to house secrets, I generally spend every new screen doing this. And yes, I get that obsessive even when I get the power bracelet and can move rocks. The game consists of a giant overworld map up in the corner of your screen conveniently, and features the first 4 dungeons. You have to find the next 4 yourself. Once you get into a dungeon, your objective is to find all the keys to get yourself to the boss, but along the way you want to find at least 1 or 2 special items hidden within the dungeon. And luckily, you don't have to worry about repeating the dungeon from scratch. If you die, it'll keep all your keys and special items you've collected, so you can just wander straight up back to where you were the last time. The graphics in this game look similar to Super Mario All-Stars. They're just the exact same thing, only done brighter and with a higher resolution for the Super Nintendo. The sound is pretty catchy too, though I can't tell if it's the original Nintendo version or if it's just borrowed from the Super Nintendo game. Legend of Zelda is a little on the easy side, but that doesn't mean it isn't fun. You have a variety of weapons to attack with, such as boomerangs and even fire, and you just go around collecting more weapons and items like a holy Bible of all things. Well, that's about it, so let's look at some of the graphical updates of the bosses. Oh, did I say this was almost done? Well, I lied. You see that timer in the corner? This game was downloaded in 4 episodes at 2 dungeons a week, and took 10 minutes to download. Plus, you only had a 3-hour window to download. This was way before the easy use of file storage on the internet. Once you started, you had to complete the 2 dungeons in 1 hour, or else the game killed you, and you had to start over from scratch. The game took 7 minutes to listen to the opening, so you really only had 53 minutes before the game essentially reset. However, the original ROM took out the 1-hour death marker, as you can see here. And it also automatically moved your time forward to the nearest hour whenever you got the second Triforce. The timer also had another purpose. When it reached certain minute markers, special effects would occur, such as unlimited bomb usage. They must have known players like me were here, because as soon as I got that, I immediately dropped gameplay and went straight to bombing as many walls as possible. Aside from unlimited arrows, random fairy, and automatic usage of the most upgraded boomerang, there's also events like this, where you have to get into the dungeon by waiting for a specific time. And if you're early, well, you just gotta wait around and do nothing until it's time. There's some cool effects like night into day at specific times, as well as rain, and even odder ones such as a random shopkeeper just appearing out of nowhere in your dungeon to sell you stuff. In the original ROM, there are 4 major events you just won't know about unless I tell you them here. At this point in the map, you'll find a guy who says, "I'm looking for a red ring." That's nice. As well as another old man looking for a very fantastic sword. You can only go to these places after you've completed the first 6 dungeons, and then only between the times of 3:20 and 3:30. The third involves finding a heart piece on the beach at the very early part of the game, otherwise it's lost forever, and the last part involves finding Ganon. Apparently he's been switched from his role at the end of Dungeon 8, and has been replaced at the beginning of the game where you got your first sword. But wait, when you're done with that, you can play the game again with the entire landscape change and every dungeon now completely different. But wait, that's not the end at all. Once you go to the website where the people have been translating this, you can also find 3 other different takes on the ROM. The second version allows you to play as Link with a more up-to-date sword and shield based on the current games, and even a Soul Calibur patch. The third version removes the timer entirely so it feels just like a regular Zelda game. The fourth version attempts to make it look exactly like the original broadcast ROM. So you will die at the 1-hour mark. It replicates part of the beginning of the BS load screen, and all the voices that nobody can find to incorporate into the ROM, well, they've all been translated into text so you can read what was originally heard during the broadcasts. Combine that with a different map for each of these, that's 8 different ROMs. But if you thought that was it, then you were sadly mistaken. There was also a BS Zelda game that's sort of a sequel to the Legend of Zelda Super Nintendo game called Legend of Zelda Ancient Stone Tablets. This actually has new characters, new enemies, and new magical items. So what are you waiting for? If you're a Zelda addict, go to this page now and download the ROMs, which are technically legal. Supposedly.
End of line.